This is One Fat Boy, and I will be going over my sports betting theory of dead stats. These are stats that don't affect the outcome of your bet. It's a way to look at your bet as it's happening and after the fact to see how your bet is performing and how it can be maximized after the fact. I will be going over basketball analogies, but this can work for other sports. A bet was placed for LeBron James to score over 30 points. Let's say a bet was placed for LeBron James to score over 30 points. Okay, I already messed up. Let's say there was a bet placed for LeBron James to score over 30 points. James ends up scoring 34 points in the game. Your bet hit, but you only needed a minimum of 30 points. Those extra 4 points are what I call dead stats. They are extra points that don't help you earn your bet during the game. After the game, a thought exercise that I like to do is how I could change my bet to gather all the dead stats to earn a higher payout. I could have bet James over 33.5 points, and that would have earned a little bit more. The other way goes the same with the unders. Let's say you place the same bet, but James scored 26 points. The bet would lose, but betting the over 25.5 would have worked. The optimal bet that would have minimized dead stats would be under 26.5, as the under would pay more because it would have been a riskier bet. Now let's look at a multi-leg parlay. Let's say you bet on 3 players on one team to score more than 20 points. To determine the dead stats for this bet would be every point scored that is not by one of those 3 players and every point above 20 points that those players score. It can be looked at that the bet is at least 60 points are going to be scored by those 3 players. If you're thinking of basketball, most teams score around 100 to 110 points. So in theory, a little more than half the points must come from those 3 players. So if dead stats can be applied to other types of stats, the same rules apply. It is best to think about the portion of what the player has to score to earn in relation to what the usual amount is and how you can maximize it. So the players that you can bet on is the main source for dead stats. There are some players who will play that you can't bet on in certain sports books before the game. If the game is a blowout, the bench players are playing, and they were all players you couldn't bet on before the game, every stat that is registered by them would be a dead stat. You cannot go back in time and adjust your bet to bet on those players to earn even more. I go through the dead stats for each bet I place so I can improve on how I bet and to determine the amount of luck, precision, and skill I had in my bet. Dead stats are another way to look at sports bets and scores and understand how you could have improved on your bets.